Not a whit. We defy augury. There's a special providence in the fall of a sparrow. If it be now, 'tis not to come. If it be not to come, it will be now. If it be not now, yet it will come. The readiness is all. Since no man has aught of what he leaves, what is't to leave betimes? Let be. Hello everyone. Welcome to the channel. Brian Jennings, the psychic scientist. This channel exists to discuss my relationship with Quentin Tarantino. To process my life. Right? A lot of times we'll talk about the movie Critic. A lot of times we'll talk about all sorts of stuff. And sometimes we won't talk about it at all. But I created the channel, right? Because, right? He's a dangerous, evil man. Right? So, it's become incumbent upon me to discuss it. Primarily because I'm the only one who can. Right? And secondary, because he's trying to destroy my life. So, I wrote a series of reviews in protest, #boycott the movie critic, last year, which compelled Quentin to cancel the film. He never had any intentions of canceling it. He just wanted me to stop reviewing movies in protest. Right? He didn't want to talk to me. I sent him a letter immediately, refused at the door. Right? Right? He set up a screening of Jackie Brown at De Niro Con. Right? Where he expected me to question him about his book, Cinema Speculation. But I only know that, right, because I'm a psychic clairvoyant as well. Right? He never actually told me anything. Right? And I suspect he has a document that he shows people that says, oh no, this is where I told him, right? But that's a lie. Right? Because if we had that, if that existed, we wouldn't be where we are now, because I'm a simple, honest guy. That's why I wrote him immediately as soon as he canceled the film, right, in the press. As soon as he announced in the press he was canceling the film. Right? So, he took it upon himself to play a fucked up mind game with me. Refused the letter that I sent as soon as he canceled the film. Refused the letter I sent a week before Tribecca. Refused my letter at De Niro Con, right? This letter, right here, boom, right? Which was in this book. That's his autograph right there, right? I asked him to sign the book, shoved it all the way up to his face, right? He stuck his nose up at me and turned his back on me, and so I did the same thing. Right? Oh, so you're the only one who gets to be magic? Is that? Right? There's 600 people there. I'm not the only one that was there. Right? Every motherfucker that was in that room remembers that moment. Right? So, I chose my side. Right? And so after about a week, I started to feel really guilty. And I said, oh, I'm gonna build you a planter. I'm gonna make it right. You know, like I sent him a scene, right? Like that's why, right? This is about my scene. It's a badass scene about a writer, right? The movie critic's about a writer. The movie critic is the movie that he's making. And if he's not, he's making some weird bastardization of our story, right? Quentin and myself, right? So, right? I started making the planter as best as I was able. I was living in New Orleans and working. Slaving away every Saturday, every day after work, right? All the while, he's watching me. He remote views people, right? Like, this is what he does. Saying, oh, arts and crafts is for fags, and, you know, it's really degrading, ugly things, you know? He thought that I was, like, attacking him in some way. I don't have any cunning. I don't have any... That's not the frequency that I operate on. That's how he operates. Right? And now it's gotten him swallowed by me. Right? And so, right? From then, right, when people started asking him, well, where did you show him that you wanted him to question you about cinema? Like we were ready, like we were all ready to make the movie. Like, where did you show him? Like, show us where you said, right? And that's when he started lying. And not only did he start lying to them, he also started lying to me, right? So that he would make me appear insane. And so that's the contents of the novel. I've written a novelization of my experiences. It's called Building a Coven. Quentin has a coven. He has 2 women, right? And he led me to believe that multiple women were in love with me. All bullshit, all to make me seem insane, right? Right? So, if you recall, we're going through the book Spherical Models and making all of the models. And so here is the newest one, which I'm quite pleased with. Right? The truncated hexahedron, right? The truncated cube, right? So 6 octagons and 8 triangles, right? So you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? So, why do I make these? Right? The things that we're touching on here, Quentin and myself, like the way that Quentin gets off, right? It's not how I get off. Right? But he gets off on violating people's minds, right? That he likes to direct with his mind. How many people have been on a Quentin Tarantino set and they said, wow, it's amazing, he says so little. Right? And so in that way, right, I did pick a fight with him. Because I knew what he wanted. Right? But I picked the right side. I chose the right side. He's not a cool guy. He's a sick, evil man. He's a dangerous, evil man who does evil, dangerous things to me every day. Because he can't trick me with his mind. His mind is shallow. Right? There's no depth in it. Right? Why do I make these models? All of life is expressing a divinity that embedded within every cubic centimeter of space in terms of information lies the potential for all of manifested reality, right? And so it's a twofold manifold, right? Binan Chokmah, right? The first 2 emanations from Kether, the crown, right? First there's Ein Sof, and then it degrades itself to Kether, and then it radiates, right, the 2 channels out to Binan Chokmah, right? Which is the structural scaffold, right? This is one example, right? This is another example, right? All within all structure within all. And the second one is the celestial zephyr, right? Each combining to create Dath intellection, right? I know this is from the Cabala, right? You could attach it to the 4 principal powers of the standard model of physics as well. Strong and weak nuclear forces, special and general relativity, quantum mechanics, and electromagnetism. Right? So, eternally at rest in every cubic centimeter of space lies the harmonized structural scaffold, right? Which is the structural underpinning of all of manifested life, all nested inside of each other, right? And diffused throughout that, right, is a conscious field, right? The divine light of deity. And it, after a time, seeks to express its knowing, and so exerts pressure or motion through the structural subatomic quantum manifold, right? And so I always like to use this one. It's kind of falling apart, but it's complex, you know. But this is one example, right? And this truncated cube is another example, right? that if we say all of life is within this, right, that all of manifested reality, right, is embossed within this thing, right, then if the celestial zephyr, right, seeks to express its knowing and manifest a part of this into creation, right, then it has to decide what it wants to see, right? So, after arriving at that decision, right, through mysterious processes we'll never understand, right, the celestial zephyr exerts pressure upon this. If this is the full quantum manifold, right, and everything that could possibly be manifested is expressed within this one structural archetype, right? And while that's not true, right, it's true of a kind, right? Then if you close this into a sphere, this is a spherical model, so that's not a good choice, but if you this is why I like this one, right? If you close this into a sphere, right, and you cast a circle through the sphere, around the sphere, that's called a great circle, right? And so each degree of the 360 degrees of the great circle represents a potential vector of pressure upon the manifold, upon the structural quantum probability manifold, right? And so, right, you can have an infinite number of great circles going around, right, the cubic wave field, right, the structural quantum manifold, right? And so each potential vector, right, of pressure is a reflection of what it manifests in the material world as matter that we can measure and experience, right? So if it comes from the top and the bottom, that's one thing, right? Boom, that's going to exert one thing. And then if it comes from these middle parts, that's going to exert something else. If it comes from the diagonal, that's going to exert something else, right? On and on and on and on and on and on and on, right? This is the dignity of God's omniscience. There's nothing else that's ever been occurring. Right? So, at the end of that philosophic illumination is man, right? Which is the first and last creature within creation to offer a sincere reflection of veneration back upon its divine origin. Everything else enslaved to the magnetic condition of its body, right? At the highest levels of man, right, at the highest levels of the unfoldment of the divine plan, is this condition called psychic, called clairvoyant, called remote viewing, called, right, telepathy, right, called psychokinesis, right, called thaumaturgy. Right? These are all the same things, right, that people referred to as magic and sorcery in centuries past. They're not similar things, they're the same things. Right? The words are different, the tactics are the same. Right? So, Quentin Tarantino is a powerful psychic clairvoyant who likes to remote view people, who likes to humiliate them with his mind, right? Who likes to use his mind as a weapon. Right? And I got reasons for why he does that, and I'm not going to go on and on about it. Right? I too am also a psychic clairvoyant, the most powerful clairvoyant of the millennial generation. Right? So, after I didn't give him what he wanted, he entered into a subtle bullshit campaign to compel me to blow my brains out. Right? And now that he's failed to do that, right? He's stolen my fear, because this is what he does. He steals people's thoughts from their mind. Right? Because he's a degenerate. He doesn't have any thoughts of his own. Right? And he's taken my wisdom and entered into a real Faustian covenant with the devil. Right? He's gone. They're trash spiritually. There's nothing good about them. Right? He didn't steal my conspiracy to destroy him. He stole my fear. And now he's stepped into real black magic evil. Right? Now he's really doing it. Right? And he makes me miserable as much or as little as he wants. Makes me believe he's trying to kill me with the destroying angel mushroom. Right? Makes me believe he's trying to give me AIDS. hypodermic needles, right? Let's just say that it's psychological trauma, which I think that it is, in a big way. That he would have to bury me in it for a long time, right? Is that better? Because I think that's pretty fucking depraved, you ask me. That's the ugliest evil that anyone can possibly do, right? And this is why he's a degenerate. This is why he's not wise, right? Because I've always known what to do to destroy someone with my mind, right? That's it's easy to be evil. This is not, right? So to come back, right, and say, oh, why do I make these models, right? Right? Unlike Quentin, right, I actually understand, right, how the universe is comprised, right? And so I make these models, right? Right? This one, that one, this one, right? To fortify my psyche and to bring into my conscious awareness, right, pieces of the divine structural hologram, right? That's right, that's the idea. And in so doing, I tap my mind into the hologram which persists in every cubic centimeter of space, and I find anybody. Right? That's the game, right? The psychic mind game, right? So let's take a look and talk about this for a second. Talk about this triple hay, right? This is Mike Simpson. This is his agent, right? 9601 Wilshire. Right? I reserve the right to stare at this whenever I want. But the triple hay is not an angelic triad of the Shimon for Ash. I'm almost certain of it. Right? But why do we have these languages? I want to say archaic, but they're not. It's a revived language, right? It's a real language. But it's a divine primary language, right? You could have Greek, you could have Latin, you could have the three primary languages. Right? Why do I do that? Why do I do that? So we say that space has a structural underpinning. Right? We say that the universe is arranged in a particular way. Right? The Pribram and Bohn's holographic model is what allows space to give life the potential to flourish. Right? And it does that by arranging itself in a particular way, so perfect in its nesting, right, that it dissolves into seeming non-existence. Right? And it's out of that structural perfection, right, that the celestial Zephyr, the divine light of God, exerts pressure upon it, right, which allows matter to manifest through the specific dihedral with which, right, the divine light of deity exerts its pressure upon the structural manifold, right? And so, right, if everything is unfolding according to a plan, to a specific structural underpinning, right, Platonic forms, right, all things reside as idea, right? And eventually, when you get to man, right, you end up in the cave, right? You end up chewing on berries and blow the handprint on the cave wall, right? You go up and you go out and you look at the stars and you say, oh, you see Orion and you say, oh, that looks like me. That looks like me. We must come from there. Right? You understand? So that inevitably, right, through seeing the planets moving in the sky, right, through seeing the sun move in its parabolic arc across the sky each day, you end up with a writing utensil, don't you? And if we say that religion is a psychological necessity, if we say that it's a psychological reflex, then so too must language and writing, right? That inevitably, after all this observation, you end up with the pen. Right? You go, right? So, what does that have to do with this? Right? My point is that all of space is its own eternity, is its own blank page. You understand? And the universe unfolds according to the structural dignity that is beyond the scope of our comprehension. Right? And so we can never understand all of it, but we can understand a piece of it. And what I'm saying is that in man, right, all the way up until man, that's all there is, right? But with man, right, making paper, right, with language, right, with the mouth, it's not just grunts and guttural, right? It's a sophisticated, nuanced thing, right? And so, right, there's an eternity on the blank page as well. And when you cast, right, your spelling upon the page, you cast your spell upon the page, right? Then you are behaving as though you are God, right? This is what Alan Moore talks about when he says a writer can condemn you forever, right? That a witch doctor can curse you for an hour, right? That he can make a chicken stand funny, right? But a satirist, right? Is Falstaff based on a real guy, right? Was there a big fat buffoon who hung out in the court in Elizabethan England, you know? Right? So, right? The three primary languages of Hebrew, Greek, and Latin, right, are tapped into a noble divinity, right? And when you learn these languages, right, I haven't spent enough time. I can't lay any claim to being some sort of linguistic scholar, right? But what I'm saying is that this is a savage sigil, right? That everything that you see on here is a plasmatic vortex of intention, right? In the same tradition as how God the Father, El Shaddai, Yahweh, right, conjures matter out of seeming nothingness, right? Right? Something out of seeming nothingness, right? Blank page. Right? That's right? That's why I have him trapped in this. Right? Is it more powerful than Greek? You know, like, is it more powerful than ancient Sumerian? Is it more powerful than Sanskrit? I don't know. I want to say yes. I want to say it's the most magical of all languages, but I don't really know. I would say no. That critically, they each have something to offer intellectually. Right? So, what does he do? I would guess very little. Right? That he just pulls out a revolver and blows a bullet hole through my headshot and goes, ha, 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 fuck you. Right? I can't stress this enough. Like, this is the ugliest, most dangerous psychological condition for both of us. Right? And he's obviously a degenerate. He doesn't care. It's a joke to him. I can't imagine doing it, but I don't live with guile in my heart. So, I guess he is. I guess he's just going to lie to everyone. He's going to show them a document that he refuses to show me. Right? And I tried to do it his way. Right? He asked me to sue, and I was doing it. Right? And while I was sorting trash to pay for that lawsuit, he thought it was funnier to traumatize me all day, every day, with hypodermic needles. Right? Which again, right, proves how unwise he is, how adolescent he is. He's a child in his mind. This is my house. Right? And so I'm talking about it. Right? I can't imagine like conspiring with the people that you love. Right? Like with your wife, like who had your children. Are those his children? I don't know, but right? The woman who alleges to be his wife and the mother of his children, to say, oh no, we'll use our daughter in our fucked up, malevolent, psychic mind games, right? And I was explaining this in the last video I made, right? That every time the sorcerer or the psychic casts a spell of intention, right? They're the same things, right? They're not similar things, they're the same things. That what's occurring in the brain, right, is there's a novel neuronal conjuration of an electrical field, right? And so, right, the sorcerer has his wand, right? The psychic, right, has his headshot, right? And they both say, oh, I want to send an attack, you know, and he points the wand at his sigil. Yeah. Right? Quentin has this picture and he says, fuck you, you know. He says, oh, I want him to think I have a daughter, right? And so him, right, and his wife are both doing the same thing, and they're both creating this electrical condition, right? That this is done through concentrated psychological effort, right? Through a neurological condition within the brain, right? That it's a logical resonance that you seek to express, or really an illogical resonance that you seek to express. Keep in mind that the electrical field, right, the aura of the body, right, is intimately connected to everyone in your family, right? This is unequivocal. It's not up for debate, right? And so he and his wife, right, mother and father, both say, oh, I want him to believe that we have a daughter, or it wouldn't be her daughter, but we want him to believe that Quentin has an adult daughter, right? And so I did. And they said, oh, we want him to believe that she loves him, she's in love with him, she wants his baby. And so I did. Again, I have no cunning, I have no guile, right? And this was all after Tribecca, and it's all to make me seem insane. I get it, joke's on me, pretty funny, right? And so I endured that for, 5 months, you know, did a lot, right? Did a lot, right? After like a month or so, they expected me to believe that she was like a bitch, right? Who fucks men because she's a whore, right? All the while, they're creating a neuronal electrical condition, right? Right? And then after I started remote viewing her at the first of this year, right? Within a day, she was a prostitute who gets bukkake and piss all over her for $500 an hour. Hardy, har. Mother and father both like projecting this out, right? And so my point is that what does that mean for the 3-year-old little girl who's actually his daughter, who's completely innocent, right? Her psyche is a fucking wreck already, 100%, right? This is like, that's not up for debate. Like, they're going to spend the rest of their lives wondering, right? If anything ever goes wrong with her, is this because, right, we embedded within her magnetic body, within her psyche, on a subtle auric level, that she's a bitch who likes to get pissed on and get fucked for $500 an hour? I can't imagine. It's ridiculous. Right? So, I suppose I'm going to go. Right? Life is not an accident, right? I feel like the guy that I was talking shit about ended up unsubscribing from here, and that's fine. He's an arrogant ass anyway. Right? You want to call me a nutcase? Kiss my ass, right? But all life emerges out of a subtle, sophisticated, intellectual certainty, right? The first 2 emanations of God the Father is the structural scaffolding which supports all of the molecular and structural integrity of all manifested creation. Diffused within that, right, is a divine celestial zephyr, right? The spark of motion which exerts pressure upon the structural scaffold, right, and imbues within all of creation a sense of urgency and necessity and motion. Right? all instances of clairvoyance, right, of psychic phenomenon, is the mind of the adept tapping into the non-local conscious field, right, which exists perpetually in a state of rest in every cubic centimeter of space. Quentin Tarantino is a powerful psychic clairvoyant, right? He and I have been in a legendary psychic siege for over a year now. And he keeps me in perpetual paranoia because he's a sad, angry man, right? And can't just live his life and see what's good in his life, that he's going to send people to murder me constantly. And that's why we're talking about it. So much evil. I can't stress this enough, right? The worst, ugliest, highest evil, right? And yes, other people are, everyone's allowed to say I'm a nutcase. That's really sad how oblivious you all are. The people who want to say that. The people who want to kiss Quentin Tarantino's ass, right? Because he's not a cool guy, right? If he was a cool guy, he would have paid me $2 or $3 million for my scene, made me sign the document, and said, Hamlet and Honolulu, you go fuck off. And that would have been perfectly reasonable. Instead, he entered into a Faustian covenant with those closest to him, right, to create a hive mind that now they can't get out of, right? Because this is my house. This is what I do. The mind, right? They thought it's what they do, right? They thought that, we can compel this guy to kill himself. And now, right, that they're all up to here with it, right? And this is why I'm afraid, right? Because I'm cool. Right, like we're good. You just go anywhere else. You just fuck off. So, see what's good in your life. Like, comment, subscribe, share. God bless. Let me know what you think.